If you think stress is bad for you, the next 5 minutes are for you. Because we often think of stress as a really, really bad thing, something that we want to totally remove from our lives. But as it turns out, stress can actually be good for you. It's hard to believe, right? That's what we're going to talk about in today's episode. We're going to break down what type of stress is good for you, why it's good for you, and how you can begin to implement it. So, welcome to Minimal Dose. My name is Blake, and I am your guide on this short journey into the topic of stress. Does this pattern sound familiar? You experience stress. You don't like how it feels. So then you avoid stress. Happens to a lot of us, right? We typically experience it and then we say, we don't want that to happen again. But here's the ironic part. When we try and avoid all stress in our life actually begins to shrink smaller and smaller and smaller because you're trying to avoid more and more things that would bring stress. So your life actually begins to shrink in its experience. The other ironic thing is that the amount of things that bring you stress will actually increase. Your tolerance to stress will become lower the more you try and avoid it. So the answer isn't avoiding stress, but we also know we don't want to be overstressed. We know too many people who are burnt out, who are overwhelmed, who are living in anxiety. So there's definitely a good type of stress and a bad type of stress. And that's what we'll talk about today. What is this good type of stress? Well, it's what we think of as hormetic stress. Hormetic stress is different than the chronic, overwhelming, painful, anxiety-inducing stress that some of us are living in. Hormetic stress has some unique principles to it that actually create adaptation and strength in our bodies. One of the simplest ones to think about is exercise. When you exercise, you put your body under a manageable amount of stress. As a result, your body adapts and it becomes stronger. And it's such a satisfying feeling when you go back to the gym and you realize, oh man, I've made gains. I've put on some muscle. I've gotten stronger. I can run further than I could before because I endured that stress in the past. So we know there are good stressors in life. There's things that are healthy. They help us grow. And that is the funny thing about stress. When we experience it in the right way, our lives actually begin to expand as a result. There's more that we can do. There's more growth for us. There's more strength for us. And there's less things that stress us out on a day-to-day basis. It's the complete opposite of when we try and avoid stress. So, how do hormetic stressors work? We know from plenty of scientific studies, when we avoid stress, we have less resilience, we have less growth, and we actually increase our overall anxiety and fear, and the flip side is true. When we take on stress willingly in a short form amount that we can tolerate, then we become less fearful, less anxious. We become stronger and more resilient. So you're starting to pick up on two very different types of stress that you may experience. Let me break it down and make it very simple. There are three distinct features of hormetic stressors. These are the good types of stressors. One of the features is that it's an amount of stress that you can tolerate. So it's not overwhelming. It doesn't send you into an anxiety attack or overload. It's an amount of stress you can tolerate. The second is that it's short term. Chronic stress, the stress that we live with every day and can't escape, that's the bad stress. But a hormetic stressor is a short-term stressor. And the third thing, and this is very important, it's a stress you choose to engage with willingly. So it's not something coming from the outside attacking you, it's you stepping into something that you want to take on as a challenge. A few great ideas for practical hormetic stressors that you could begin introducing in your life. One, we already talked about, exercise. Whatever that looks like for you. Again, it has to meet that criteria. It's short term, you select it, and it's manageable. So if you're new to exercise, running 25 miles is going to be past the sweet spot of what a hormetic stressor would be. It's going to push you into that point of diminishing returns and maybe even injury. But exercise is a fantastic hormetic stressor that most of us can introduce on a daily basis. Another great hormetic stressor is cold exposure. This is part of the reason why ice baths and cold showers and cold plunges have gotten so popular. We're stepping into a short-term, manageable stressor of our choice. It's challenging, but when we adapt and we overcome it, you realize, wow, I've got a new sense of motivation. I've got a new sense of courage, a new sense of resilience from engaging with that. Another hormetic stressor that people take on is fasting. Again, you have to make sure it's correct for you in your physical state to do this, but actually going without food for some time not only creates physical adaptations that benefit you, but you're getting the mental resilience from taking on something challenging because you're going to want to eat. But when you delay that on your own, you're now prolonging your reward and you're building resilience into your system. So you could take any one of these. Maybe it's exercise. Maybe it's fasting a couple of meals. Maybe it's getting into a cold shower, getting into a cold plunge, or getting into a hot sauna. Things that take you out of your comfort zone, out of your sweet spot for a short time, allow you to come back stronger. And that is why stress is not always bad. Stress can actually be good, and it can even be a necessary part of life. Someone told me recently, if you want to grow, you're going to have stress. So, if you want to grow, be prepared. There's going to be some stress there, but with these tools in your pocket, you're actually equipped to take it on in a way that you can build resilience, you can build strength, and make your life better. So, that's our short episode today. Hope this was enjoyable to you. It's a great life.